It's time for Access the Experts from the University of Nebraska at Omaha with your host, Brandon Axamit.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Access the Experts on News Channel Nebraska, where every Tuesday and Thursday, University of Nebraska at Omaha faculty members answer today's questions facing our state. Today we have the pleasure of hearing from David Drozd, who is a research coordinator for the Center of Public Affairs at UNO. So David, today's question is, how did places like Nebraska become so demographically segregated in which small towns are predominantly white and urban areas are more ethnically diverse?
Well, thanks, Brandon. I'd be happy to provide some insight on that. When we look at today's population in Nebraska, some of it relates all the way back to how the state was settled in the 1800s. At that time, after the Homestead Act, we had a lot of, especially white population, push out to all corners of the state where they could use those properties to start family farms. Later on in the 1900s to the 1920s, we saw a lot of immigration to the state from European locations, your Polish, your Czech, and Swedish. So Nebraska still has certain towns where they're dominated by certain ancestry groups like that. More currently, when you look at the 1950s and 60s, the Omaha Stockyards was in its heyday, and that provided a lot of jobs, especially for our Black and African American population. And that's one reason why the Omaha area is relatively more diverse. In the 1990s and 2000s, we saw a lot of Hispanic Latino population come to the state for jobs, again, in the meat processing and other certain industries. So while in general, rural Nebraska tends to be more white or less diverse, there are definitely pockets where we see a lot of diversity, and really diversity is increasing throughout the state. It's just the level of degree of change. But when we look at an area like Schuyler or Colfax County, it is now more than 50% persons of color. And there are a lot of other areas approaching that level, such as Lexington and Dawson County. So some smaller, generally more rural areas dependent upon farming and agriculture do have a lot of diverse population. Now, one thing that we know about our population groups is that the diverse populations are generally younger, especially for ages under 20. So over the next 10 to 15 years, as today's children age, they'll go into the timeframes of their life where they're going to be getting married, forming families, and having their own children. And what that means is the population will continue to diversify in the years ahead. While we know that our rural population is a little bit more white, what that also tells us is that it's also a little bit older. And in the years ahead, as the baby boomers age and go into points of their life where they might need more medical care, whether it's in home or eventually for nursing home and other skilled facilities, a lot of the jobs that are held by the employees there or doing home health care will possibly be persons of color. And that could lead to some challenges because there are cultural differences. There could be some slight language differences that we see, and those things have to be worked through. But as long as we know about them, we can prepare for them and meet those challenges. So that's one of the things our office provides, is a look at that demographic data, where we've been and where we're going. And you can check out more at our website of cpar.unomaha.edu, where we have a lot of reports, presentations, data tables, even infographics that people like to see and understand about our current situation. Thanks so much.
Access the Experts, presented by the University of Nebraska at Omaha. If you have questions, submit them on our website. Then join us every Tuesday and Thursdays at 6:46 a.m. and p.m. while we answer your questions.